All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. It's May 12th, 2023. Thank you for everybody who's here this morning. And thanks everybody who's joining us online today. Our agenda this morning is we'll start out with success stories. If everybody's landed, we'll look forward to hearing their good news. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window. We'll then go to committee reports. We'll hear about workshop, job fairs, the practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and the career tip of the week. And then we will have our main event right around the top of the hour. All right, for those people on Zoom today, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just put them in the chat window. That way, when our speaker takes a break, you'll be ready. He'll get those questions answered for you. We are not on Facebook this morning because for some reason Zoom and Facebook do not want to communicate with each other. All right, let's see here. Come on. Here we go. Please note this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. This group's been around since the late 1990s. Like I said, I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader got a job. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search You May Not Know. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. We'd like to start the meeting off with good news. Do we have any landings, any success stories to share? In here, out there, anywhere? Close, but we want landings. We want to hear about the landing. Okay. We'll move on then. Okay, what we'd like for everybody to do now, for those people who are on Zoom right now, please in the chat window, put your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, 2 or 3 target companies, then hit the return key. I will collect all this information and I will put this into an email that will come out probably on Monday. I'm actually heading out of town right after this meeting, so I'm not going to have time to do what I normally do. But we will get all this information put out for you. For those people that are here in the room, if you will, just make sure you fill out one of these little slips, get them to me, and we'll get all your information up on the roster. We do have a roster that goes out every week. If you're using this for a workforce solutions event, I'll have record of it. So if everybody will please do that, that would be great. And let me put 30 seconds on the clock. All right, if you're still typing away, please keep on going there. That would be great. Thanks for everybody who's put their information in so far. What we're going to do now is we're going to allow everybody who's here in the room, let's see here, everybody who's here in the room to give their 30-second introductions. So let me flip over, let me switch, let's see here. Podium, it's spotlight for everybody so y'all can see them. All right, if you will, just start away.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Chandler Kim. I'm a marketing and technology executive who excels at optimizing marketing and partnership strategies so companies will grow faster than they had originally planned. My target companies this week are AMD, or Advanced Micro Devices, Semiconductors, and Honeywell. Once again, my name is Chandler Kim.
Okay. Hi, my name is Jack George. I'm a Salesforce admin developer. I am looking for contacts at Citibank and Core Logic. My name is Jack George.
You confuse me. Sometimes I see Jack, sometimes I see John.
Good morning. My name is Jason Benton. I'm a safety manager for warehouse and fleet industrial. I'm just looking for opportunity in that. And my name's Jason Benton.
Hi, my name is Kathy Meredith. I am a product owner. I help provide solutions for website development and design. I need contacts at Citi, GM Financial, and Neighborly. Again, my name is Kathy Meredith.
Good morning. My name is Rebecca Wolf, and I inspire employees and companies to optimize their talents through learning and development. Right now, this week, I'm actually looking for Collabora and Dell, but also Helen of Troy. I'm not looking for Spartacus, but it's the parent company of Honeywell and some of the other great products that we know. Again, Rebecca Wolf.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jama Ball. I'm a business operations leader with global experience improving operations, processes, and team performance. I'm also a Gallup trained strengths coach and mentor. I am looking for opportunities at Amadeus and IHG. My name is Jama Ball.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, Jeff, your lips are moving, but we're not hearing any words.
Oh, yeah, I guess it would help if I had the microphone turned on. Okay, here we go. Two totally free websites, Career DFW, careerusa.org. All sorts of technical problems this morning. If you know somebody who's unemployed, please let them know about the two websites. They don't collect any personal information. They're just there to help you land your next great opportunity. All right, one of the things you'll find on the Career DFW calendar is on the Career DFW website is a bunch of calendars. And on the calendars, you're going to find job fairs, free workshops that are happening, network meetings that are happening in person, those that are on webinars, any special events that are going on. If you happen to know of something that's not on the calendar, please let me know so I can add it so we can share that information with everybody. Let's talk about the Dallas Pit Crew. Chandler, you want to talk about it?
Sure. So the Dallas Pit Crew, PIT stands for Practice Interview Team, and it is a wonderful opportunity for all of us who are interested in improving our interview skills. One of the big challenges is you never get any feedback when you conduct an interview, and this is an opportunity in a very safe environment to practice your interviewing skills for potentially a position you're really interested in, or even one that is just similar to the one that you seek. The practice interview team is free. It's staffed by all volunteers, and if you would like to participate, either as a person who was wanting to practice your interview or just watch, you learn a lot by watching as well. You can send an email to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. Get on the schedule. It usually runs about 2-4 days out. I understand now it's about a week. So you can't do it like I have an interview the next day. That's a little bit too short a timeline, but it is definitely a great opportunity to practice your interview skills, get some tips and pointers, and take another step towards acquiring that job.
Great, thank you very much. The Pit Crew is also meeting in person at some points, and we do a practice interview live on the Zoom at least every Wednesday at 1 o'clock. All right, Walt, tell us about the Interview Success Workshop.
Well, good morning, everyone. And so what's the difference between the interview success workshop and the pit crew? Well, the workshop that I put together back in 2000 after flunking an interview is basically learning how to sell ourselves. Everyone agrees it's a selling situation. So how do we sell ourselves? What do we do? So I'll call it the learning interview. It's where we take basic categories of questions and look at strategies, approaches, options. Responding to questions is not just a response, it's a selling response, not just the answer to the question. The three things that we're selling are the three things that companies are buying, which is who we are, what we do, and how we can help. I hear a lot of I do's in interviews, but what about the I ams? How's the culture fit? Does your personality and your characteristics fit those of the corporation and the team that you're wanting to join? And then how can you help them, which is the real reason people hire us, to get something accomplished, to get something done. So how do we do that? So that's what the workshop is all focused upon. It's very informal. You have to be registered to attend. I will give you an interview. You will also get a video of your interview, but we're going to focus on the learning aspect. It's not a mock interview. So if you see the QR code on the screen, that'll start an email that just says, I'd like to register. I just need your email address and your phone number, and I will send you back some available dates to get you registered. Now, I'm currently charging $500, but I'm giving 100% discount for the month of May. So sign up. June is also on the list right now. People are beginning to sign up for the first week in June. So get on the list rapidly. I'd be glad to have you participate. You can look me up on the LinkedIn page. My About section gives you details also about the workshop. We call it learning without squirming, right? There's no need to have to be sitting there with anxiety and fear in our learning situation. Interview worry, we must breach so we can gain confidence and reach that. Go to the interview learning workshop. Open that door. We can soon pass through the job search door.
Thank you very much, Walt. All right, it's time to hear the career tip of the week. There's a brand new career tip of the week every Saturday afternoon. It's on the Career DFW and Career USA calendar. Rosanna, thank you for being with us this morning, and let's hear it.
Good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everybody. All right, this week's tip of the week is dated May the 7th, and it's CV versus resume. What's the difference? This article is by Erica Santiago. All right, so a CV versus resume. Which should you use when applying to a job? If you spend enough time job searching, you'll likely see a few postings asking for a curriculum vitae rather than a resume. You'll probably wonder, what's the difference between the two? Since resumes and CVs both serve as documents that help candidates land jobs, it's easy to get confused between them. To help you distinguish between these two, choose the proper document for your job application. Here's everything that you need to know about CVs versus resumes. First, what is a CV versus a resume? A CV provides the complete history of your academic credentials, career, and qualifications. A resume is a more concise document that focuses on your careers, skills, and capabilities as they relate to a specific position. In regions like Europe and Asia, a CV is the same as a resume. So be mindful when applying for jobs abroad. Now that you know what a CV and a resume are, let's explore the differences between the two. CV versus resume difference. A CV is more in-depth and lengthy than a resume because it gives a more thorough summary of a candidate's career. A resume is more of a snapshot of a candidate's professional history and skills relevant to the potential employer. As a result, CVs are often longer than resumes, which are usually only 1 or 2 pages. CVs are commonly used in the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, and they are far less common in the United States. unless a candidate applies for a medical, law, science, or academia job. CV versus resume format. Resumes are three basic formats that vary depending upon the job seeker's goals. There's functional, chronological, and combination. First, functional. It's ideal for applicants who are early in their career, are changing careers, or have gaps in their history, gaps in their resume. Chronological. It's ideal for applicants with at least 1 year of steady work experience or more. And then combination works best for the candidate with more than 10 years of experience who wants to showcase their skills and job history. A CV doesn't have a standard format because the layout depends on the applicant's industry and desired job. For example, a scientist's CV will likely focus more on the candidate's research and published work. However, a legal CV may highlight a candidate's work history and skills attained at past law firms. Furthermore, resumes typically have 5 sections, which would be contact information, professional summary statement or objective, education, skills, and a job history. A CV will also require that information, but some need more sections to adhere to industry norms. Here's a breakdown of what to include in a CV. Your contact information, a summary of your professional profile, detailed work history, education, and professional skills. Depending upon the industry, you'll also want to include other information such as publications, awards, certificates and licenses, volunteer work, languages, grants, scholarships and fellowships, teaching and lecturing experience, and professional associations and memberships. CV versus resume examples. So below are several examples of a graphic designer's comprehensive CV. When looking through this article, I would highly recommend you go back and pull the article to get all of the different links. But basically, the samples that they're outlining is the graphic designer's CV is a 2-page long, and it's 2 pages long and features standard information expected in a typical resume. And it also includes the applicant's past clients, projects, awards, certifications, and volunteer experience. And the link is going to be on resumelab.com. And then the other sample is the graphic designer's resume below is similar to a CV, but it's kept 1 page and only focuses on the applicant's work experience, skills, and education. And that link is on beamjobs.com. So CVs don't have to be 2 pages long. Like resumes, the length will vary depending upon the years of work experience, industry, and what employers want to know. So, however, it's common for CVs to go into deeper detail than resumes. And regardless of length, including a cover letter with a resume or CV is strongly suggested. A cover letter gives you the space to explain changes in your career, gaps in your work history, and a more thorough analysis of your awards and achievements. Now that you know the differences between a resume and a CV, you can decide which is best to use for your next job application. And again, this is dated May the 7th of 2023, and it's CV versus resume. What's the difference? Have a fantastic and happy Mother's Day weekend, everybody.
Rosanna, thank you very, very much. Yeah, be sure to check if you want to see the difference. It was very interesting. You know, for years and years, I've heard about the difference between a CV and a cover letter, and sometimes they use them interchangeably. So to actually see it sort of in detail really was very helpful. That's why I posted this article. So take a look at it if you have any questions. And just remember, if you're posting for a job overseas that's here in the US, you may want to do a CV versus a resume. All right, today for lunch, hopefully everybody has to eat lunch at some point. So come join us today at 11:45. We're going to go to Jason's Deli, 4801 West Parker Road. It's on the northeast corner of Parker and Preston. If you live here in Dallas, come join us for that. it's a great time to be able to meet people, get to know everybody a little bit better, find out what they want to do, how they're doing. And it really is a nice way to, if you're networking and trying to find, trying to make that personal connection with people, it's a great way to do that. So come join us today at 11:45 at Jason's Deli. All right, in just a moment, we're going to hear from our speaker, Rick Gillis, talking about accomplishments, job search, advancement, and fair pay. But I want to mention what's coming up here. Next Friday, Rick Martinez will be with us to talk about 21 tips for an effective job search in today's ever-changing job market. And then in 2 weeks, Debbie Shook will be with us to talk about why emotional intelligence matters and it's still relevant. So those are our two upcoming speakers. All right, our speaker today, Rick Gillis. I've known Rick for many years. I've heard him speak when he would come to Dallas back pre-COVID, and when he would come to Dallas, and he'd hit a bunch of the networking groups while he was here. Rick lives in the Houston area. A year ago, he wrote this book about accomplishments, job search, advancement, fair pay. And it's a really interesting concept. And so, Rick, I'll let you tell people more about yourself, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Jeff. Like I said, you're gonna have to help me get my screen shared and all that stuff. But do you want to do that first?
Oh, no, go ahead. If you want to do a little introduction, when you're ready, just go ahead and
Well, I'll tell you what, I have an introduction built into my presentation because otherwise it'll go on for 35 minutes and I've got it down to one slide.
Oh, okay. Well, that's fine. So just go click on share screen at the very bottom.
And this is the one I want. And let me get one more thing done here. How do I reduce this? I need my working copy, Jeff. Oh, wait a minute. Here it is. Here it is. This is what I want. There we go. Okay. Are you guys looking at, what are you guys looking at right now?
There's North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group, and at the bottom, presentation copyright 2023.
Okay, so just the title page. Excellent. Okay, good. Now, is there a way? Yes. Okay, I can reduce all the photos because I have my notes on the side. So you want me to go ahead and just get started?
You go ahead. Thank you. Thanks for being with us.
Okay. All right, guys. Thank you for having me, and I hope this is really helpful. Rosanna, I'm going to bust a lot of what you just said about resumes, so I need to apologize to you right up front. So anyway, that said, and we can talk later on, and I really look forward to talking if you'd like to. So let me go ahead and get started on this thing.
Let me jump in for Rosanna's sake. She's only reading the tip. I picked them. So, it's not her fault what she said. She's just reading what I put up on the website.
Okay, well, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad to know that because I don't want to be picking on anybody. And Jeff, you and I know each other, and you've heard a lot of what I have to say anyway. So, anyway, you all can see me. You all can see the screen, right?
And
okay, here we go. I changed the title of this thing. I've been working on this presentation all week long, and I'm now calling it Who, What, Where, When, Why, and How equals Wow. And candidly, I think this might be my job search presentation going forward. That's me, rickgillis.com, and Rick at Rick Gillis. You guys can send me an email. I put in my introduction the note earlier, I'm on LinkedIn and I'm an open networker. I'll share that with you later because I really genuinely will help you if I can. Today I'm going to talk to you about the accomplishments inventory. I'm going to talk to you about the accomplishments-based resume. So that's where I'm blowing the whole resume thing. But I spent many, many years putting my own resume format together, and I'll explain why here in a second. If anybody saw the LinkedIn notice about this, there's two things that I said I was going to talk about right off the bat. Something you all need to know is that your resume in some online applications is being reduced to an image. And this is so heartbreaking because, and I know this for a fact, one of the bigger companies here in Houston, I called a vice president one day, following up on behalf of a friend of mine. Did you see her resume, whatever? And I called this vice president way above the recruiters. And I said, did you see this resume? And she said, let me open it. And she looked and she said, could you have her resend? The image didn't work. And I went, what do you mean? What image? And this is several years back. And she said, well, we only look at the online applications now. We don't even, the resume is an afterthought. They attach it to the document. And for all the time and effort people put into a resume, that just broke my heart. But it's something you need to be aware of. Nevertheless, you have to put all this attention into your resume because you still have to hand it to somebody at the interview. Or, you know, somebody requests it, you got to have it ready. But the online application is highly critical, important. I want to tell you real quickly how to knock out an online application in less than an hour. And I know that people will spend, I know what online applications are about. They're designed by 27-year-old deviants that are trying to make it impossible for you to finish, that you'll quit and they'll have less applications to review. I believe that. The online application, what you're going to find if you'll pay attention to it is every time you do an online application, you're repeating the same information from the last online application you filled out. I know these things take anywhere from 45 minutes to 2.5 hours to fill out to get all the particulars. So what I'd like you to do is create a file document where you can take and start copying all the information you're applying to an online application. Not obviously not contact information, but employment 1, employment 2, employment 3, education history, all that stuff you're repeating and repeating and repeating. Put it into a file edit document, leave it on your desktop. And every time you fill out an application, copy paste, because eventually, if you've done this 2 or 3 times, you're going to find out you're saying the same thing over and over again. This will reduce the time for you to put an online application together from about anywhere from 45 minutes, 2.5 hours to 30 minutes or so. And I will tell you that time is of the essence. I know of lots of big companies. I have a friend of mine, chief HR guy, who retired a couple of years ago, and he told me that they would regularly take the first 10 resumes that made it through the system. And out of that, they would usually choose 3 to interview. And that broke my heart. I was actually speaking at his church. He asked me to come to his church to teach people what I'm going to show you guys today. And then I told him, I said, after all the stuff I've just shared, you're telling people that you're only going to look at the first 3 applications out of the first 10 that made it through the scan. And he said, yeah. And I'm just like, damn it, you're the enemy. You know, why did you invite me to talk to your people? Anyway, just so you know that. So copy paste is the best way. You're going to find you're saying the same thing over and over again. There's no reason to type it and spend all that time again. This is important. Contemporary job search is not about selection, guys. It's about elimination. It's about all the eliminations that happen until you get to the point where there is a selection and you've been chosen to go into that pile. So I want you to know that contemporary job search is not about selection, it's about elimination. My process is all about getting you through that elimination. And when you get to the selection process, I want you to come to the top. I put 95% of this in quotes because I've heard this for years and years and years. 95% of all jobs are found as a result of networking. I think that is very accurate, except I'm not sure about the 95% anymore, especially since everything is completely online. So maybe it's 70%, but regardless, you do have to have a world-class resume and supporting documentation once you get through that process, whether it's in person or it's online. You have to be able to submit it. You need to have this documentation. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. I'm going to give you a little bit of my micro bio. I helped launch the first job board in Houston in 1997. We were HoustonEmployment.com. And because the Houston Chronicle, you can't make this up, because the Houston Chronicle declared the internet was a fad, we had virtually no competition for the first 15, 16, 18 months we were in business. And as a result, I wrapped up Houston. We started DFW jobs. We were very successful in the space. I was employee number 1. I was not an owner. I wish I had shared in some of that success. But I have been in this space and I called on every hiring entity in the Houston, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas region for over 10 years. I spent 10 years selling and hiring. I've advised people in job search and promotion ever since. Every time I learned something from a recruiter, I would share it. And I want you to know, I've never been in staffing. I've never been in HR. But like I said, spending 10 years selling to the community, every time I was in somebody's office, I would learn something and I would share it. And that's what started me writing all these books that I've written 4 books on 6 books on job search. The one I'm talking about that might help you today is the Job Search Optimized book. And Leveling the Paying Field, where I take on fair pay and overcoming pay disparity. is my most recent book, and I'm working on the follow-up to that right now. What I have learned universally is that people cannot express their commercial value. And that is the thing that I find over and over and over. People can tell me what they can do. They can tell me where they've been, all that kind of stuff, but they cannot tell me their value to their employer or to a potential employer. And I find this to be a fault in the whole employment process. And anyway, I have a mantra: make me money or save me money. That's what I pound into people when I work with them one-on-one. Tell me, express to me how you're going to make me money or save me money, and I'll assure you somebody's going to listen to you. Somebody's going to offer you a job. That is my fundamental core. Well, you know, I say this everywhere I go, which leads me to my accomplishments inventory. This accomplishments inventory is before we ever, I don't even want to look at somebody's resume until we have done this. And I put everybody through an interview process. I give them a lot of my time to see if they even want to work with me, because a lot of people really don't want to go through this process. And I'm okay with that, but I cannot be successful working with a client unless they go through this process first. It's not negotiable. And that's what the whole fundamental. So this is where this process requires client achievements to be written out, identifying the who, what, where, when, why, and how behind each accomplishment, and the dollars made or saved. Now, when you can tell me the who, what, where, when, why, and how, we're on our way to, here's the reason I put people through this process first. After explaining to people that we're going to go through this process, prior to creating a document, prior to anything else, I usually get pushback and most people leave. And I'm okay with that, because if they don't want to do this, like I said, I can't be successful. But the people that do this, when I have finished this process, and let's say you're a senior executive and I've required of you 10 to 12 accomplishments, or you're a brand new college graduate and I require 5 to 6 accomplishments, and they can go all the way back to high school, they can go to in college and stuff. But my senior professionals, particularly when they're done with this process, and I expect these things to be written out, they are ready then to write a resume. And more importantly, I have prepped them for the interview. I have got my clients ready and thinking about the who, what, where, when, why, and how behind every accomplishment and the value they brought to the table. That's make me money or save me money, when you can say, as a result of my efforts, I was able to increase values by X. That's when people get excited. That's when the interviewer says, whoa, here's somebody not just giving me a litany of where they've been and what they've done. This is somebody talking about value. I want to talk to this person. So each story is then reduced to a single sentence. And matter of fact, let me follow this with the story. Many years ago, I worked with a chemical engineer. This woman here in Houston had been out of the job market for 12 years. She had gone home to raise a family. She kept her chemical engineering certification and licenses up and her continuing education up during that entire time. And so I told her when she came to me, I said, this is going to be hard. You haven't been working for a long time, but so nobody knows you, but let's go out and do this. And I actually targeted, I said, I think it might take as much as a year to get you landed. Anyways, I asked her to create a list of her best accomplishments, write out the entire narrative, who, what, where, when, why, and how, and any valuation she could come up with. She came to me with 18 pages, a sheaf of pages, and I require this to be handwritten, typed or hand, I don't care. And these were handwritten, and she handed them to me. And I looked at the first one, I went, wow. And I handed it to her. I looked at the next one, I went, whoa, and I handed it to her. And she looks at me and she says, aren't you going to read those? And I said, heck no, I'm not a chemical engineer. I don't even know what this stuff means. But I had her top of mind ready and thinking about what she did, how she could add value. Long story short, in 6 months, she landed a very senior position, a mid-level senior position here in Houston. And within a year and a half, she was at the top. She had 2 crews. This woman had 2 crews of all men that she was in charge of. And it came out of this whole model. It's one of my greatest success stories, but that's what I require of my clients. Here is my non-negotiable accomplishments inventory. Don't worry about staring at this too closely if you want, because I'm going to blow this thing up real big in a little bit. But this is a real document from a person I worked with who moved from IBM to Microsoft in Austin, Texas. So if you want to look at this document and my resume that I'm going to show up, I'm going to follow up with you in a little bit, you can go to rickgillis.com, click on job search in the nav, scroll to the bottom of the page. You'll see a link for my resume format, and you'll see a link for my accomplishments format. And then you can see my YouTube, which is really old stuff, but there's a lot of history in there. I did a full day job search presentation that I videotaped the entire thing, and it's all there, and it was many years ago, but the content still stands. I want to talk to you about what and wow. That's how you state a professional accomplishment in a single sentence. Let me show you. Every accomplishment has a beginning, responsible for what, a middle, resulting in. You know, it just struck me that I'm making noise on this keyboard. I don't know where my clicker is, so I apologize. I'll quit slamming it so hard. Responsible for what, resulting in wow. And here's where who, what, where, when, why, and how produces wow. When you can tell all that detail and somebody is interviewing you, they're going to go, wow, this is somebody we really like. This is somebody we really need to talk to and know more about. Wow is what you hear when you're describing the value you delivered on previous projects or in previous jobs. Wow causes them to say, how did you do that? Because that allows you to really start talking and telling the story, because you've already done all the who, what, where, when, why, and how, and you know the details are top of mind. And wow is a clock buster. And I want to tell you what that means. Whether you recognize it or not, every time you go into an interview, somewhere in that room, there is a clock. Whether it's on a wrist, on a watch, or it's on the wall behind you, there's always a clock. And every recruiter has an X amount of time that they want to spend with you. 20 minutes, lower level positions, maybe 30, 45 minutes, mid-level, maybe an hour, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wow is a clock buster. And that's one of my goals when I prep my clients to go into interviews. I want them to blow that clock to pieces. I want the client saying, this is my person. There's no reason to go any further. I want you to ruin the interview for the person coming up behind you. That is one of my goals. Who, what, where, when, why, and how, top of mind, and those values cause this to happen. Wow causes offers, raises, bonuses, and promotions to happen. Now I'm going to tell you my Texas sheriff story, and this is a story that's going to go to what and wow. I'm going to explain to you this whole story because I can tell you the what and wow, but I want you to understand that behind every accomplishment, there's a story. Prior to coming to Houston, I'm from El Paso, Texas, which is in the news a lot right now. But 27 years ago, my wife and I came here, and the plan was to be here for 3 years of school, and we never left. But prior to that, I used to manage commercial office buildings in El Paso. I had 14 buildings on 20 acres of property. I was one of 26 office parks across the nation, and my company. And one morning I walked in the office and there's a sheriff standing there, and he says, Richard Gillis. And I don't like being called by my whole name, my proper name. And he goes, I go, yeah. And he hands me an envelope. He says, you've been served. And he walks out. I was being sued by a commercial broker that said I owed him a commission on a lease I had just completed the week before. And I maintained I didn't. So I called my boss and he said, do you want the lawyers? I said, no, let me look into this first. I went and pulled out the original lease that my predecessor had written. And sure enough, like on page 8, there was a little handwritten squiggle that said realtor will be paid on all lease renewals. I had missed that. This was my mistake. I did owe this broker $8,000. I called my boss up. I said, I need a check for $8,000. At that time, it was not a big deal. We were $1 billion corporation. He sent me a check. I paid the realtor. I came back to my office so mad, and the lady who ran my office, the administrator, I told her, I said, Gay, I am so upset with this. I never want this to happen again. So I invented a thing I called my lease abstract or lease cover sheet. On top of, and she and I went through all 185 leases that we had on file. And we literally went through every single page and made a notation for any changes, whatever, on those documents. And I put a cover sheet. 3 months later, my boss comes to town and he's looking through some of the leases and he opens it up and he goes, what's this? And I told him, I said, I was so upset with that mistake I made that I didn't want it to happen again. So Gay and I went through every lease and we, collaborated and we put a cover sheet on every lease. Anyway, long story short, 3 months later, every other general manager in the company had to do the same thing. My boss came back to me at the end of the year and said I had saved the company $2.5 million in legal expenses by having put that cover sheet on there across the company. I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't know that. And I'm going to tell you guys that you have done things like this that you're not aware of because nobody has put you through the process of thinking about your best accomplishments. I know for a fact, working with every client I've ever worked with, and this includes brand new college graduates all the way up. I can help them come up with things they were not aware they had done or had not paid attention to. And it's not the company's responsibility to point this out to you. So I solved my problem, not knowing it was a company-wide problem. I was not aware of that. My boss, so I was responsible for creating a commercial lease cover sheet. That's the what I did. Saved my company $2.5 million annually. There's the wow. There's the what and the wow. So that's why I tell people that I was responsible for creating a commercial lease document, what, that saved my company $2.5 million annually. There's the wow. If I'm in an interview with a real estate company and I tell them that, they're going to say, how did you do that? Now I'm going to start sharing that story I just shared with you. That's the whole reason I put the people through the process that I do. I want you to win at the interview, and the interview is the hardest place to go. We know that. I know you guys started out talking about that today. Interview is tough, but if you're ready, you're still going to be nervous. But once you get into your flow and you've got all this information in your head, you're going to be successful. Okay, so let's focus on the accomplishments inventory, the accomplishments statement. This is the document that I told you I put everybody through. So here, I'm going to show you, these are the what and wow statements. Let me show you this very first one. By the way, this document is meant to be as pretty as a resume. That's why there's a header with an email address and a phone number on it. It is meant to be handed in with your resume. And you always take this document to every inventory, every interview, because nobody else is going to do it. And you're going to blow them away when you sit down and show them the what and wow that this is about. So look at that first bullet: completed special assignments on inventory phase outs, unallocated materials, and obsolete inventory, resulting in savings to the company of $1,500,000. That's pretty impressive, but here's what most people's resume would say: completed special assignments, inventory phase outs, unallocated materials, and obsolete inventory. And to that I say, so what? That doesn't mean anything. That's what you're supposed to be doing. Now, if you add resulting in, and people, please take those two words home with you. Do not do anything else in the future without saying resulting in savings of the company $1,500,000. Now, this is a huge number. It could be $300. It could be $3,000. But these are the kinds of things you think through and you share with a potential employer. Like I told you, this is a person that went from IBM to Microsoft. He was a middle manager. This is the kind of stuff he did. He dealt with these numbers. So there's a wow. Now let's look at another one. Delivered a 12% profit increase from previous management by establishing new institutional accounts, resulting in gold, $6 million in net new revenue. That's a wow. Now let me show you, resulting in, please, I'm not joking. Anytime you say what you did, add resulting in and finish the sentence, and you've got to win. Also, whenever you're putting a resume together or an accomplishments inventory document, spell out the zeros. 6MM looks terrible on a resume. It does not jump. The 1,500,000, wow. 6 million, wow. But 6MM, I'm going to skip it. I'm going to miss it. Let me show you how a hiring manager scans an accomplishments document. And obviously you have to get their attention. So, because nobody's going to read all this stuff. But if you make them want to read it, buys $1.5 million, 90% from 82, 12% increase, $6 million. There's an 800 managers above that. Performance improvement, 43%, 18% improvement, $10 million. Now, let me point out that one particular accomplishment there. Improved accuracy of $10 million spare parts inventory. The accomplishment was actually 11%, 1,100,000. But this person used that 10 million to grab attention. It was deliberate. And I have no problem doing that because he didn't lie. By the way, I think I put she on this document, but it was a he that I worked with. But when it was really a 1,100,000, which is still a big deal, but 10 million is a much more important document. So this is all creates, wow, every bit of this. Now, the accomplishment statement is the only job search document that will help help a job seeker overcome discrimination. Guys, I know there is tons of discrimination in job search of all kinds. Number one, and primarily, and I was watching the audience that's attending today, and I'm with you guys, it's age. Age discrimination, you've got to overcome it. Age discrimination, but I'll tell you any kind of discrimination because I despise discrimination, period. Women, people of any race, that everybody should have a chance, period. That's my absolute strong belief, which is why I wrote a whole book on overcoming pay disparity. But this document will help you especially overcome age discrimination. Make me money or save me money, top of mind. Keep that mantra and express how you're going to, every time they ask a question, tell them how you're going to make money or save money, and you'll have their attention. Now, to source accomplishments, go review prior performance reports and check out your appointment calendars. Go online and check out your appointments, because when you start looking at this stuff, you're going to go, oh yeah, that was when we did. Contact former coworkers, supervisors, customers, vendors. Vendors and customers are a really good place to call. Friends and family, and ask them, what did you do? What do they remember that you did on the job? Don't you do, I'll tell you what, moms remember stories. If any of you guys are fortunate enough to still have your mom around, ask her about stuff that you talked about with her when you were talking about your career, because moms don't forget anything. Your dad doesn't even know what you did for a living. But customers, vendors, friends, those people you had a drink with after work, you shared those battle stories, ask them. I will tell you candidly, out of every 10 people you ask, most are going to say, no, Rick, I don't remember anything. But 1 or 2 are going to say, yeah, Rick, don't you remember that time wow, that's really cool. Be prepared to describe the who, what, when, where, why, and how. When you can describe this, you've got to win, while continuously seeking wow. You're always seeking wow, which is that punchline. So this is not difficult. It does take some time and maybe some alone time where you need to think this stuff through, but go back to old calendars, talk to those people and ask them questions, and talk among yourselves. And you might go, yeah, I did something like that too. You might be thinking, what I do does not generate revenue. Well, I'm going to tell you, it still matters, because most jobs don't generate revenue. How do I quantify my accomplishments, savings, and efficiency? If you can do the job better, quicker, and more efficient than the next candidate, you need to express that. It's just that simple. Think about previous problems and opportunities. How did you solve them? What was the result? What was the value to the company? That's always the punchline. What was the value to the company? It may be easier to think this through in reverse. Start with the result, if you can remember some result, and then back that up to the solution or the resolution, and then identify the original problem or opportunity to the best of your knowledge. You can kind of work it out. Listen, you're going to go to an interview, and it's not like there's somebody going to be under there testing you or proving you to make sure that what you're saying is exactly perfectly accurate. Approximate and about are okay answers to say, how much money did you save? Well, I saved probably on the order of $2,500 a month or something. That counts. Again, some software applications no longer scan resumes. I'm repeating this, but an image of your resume is attached to your application. So this puts the onus on your online application, and that online application has to rock. That said, great content on your resume, and copy paste that, create great content for your resume, and copy paste that information to your online resume. So I want to show you now my accomplishments-based resume. And Jeff, with all apologies to the other types of resumes, this is the only kind I use. And honestly, I created this over many, many years of working with I have worked with thousands of people, from 30-minute phone calls to full-blown client interviews. I want to talk about my resume overview first. I would like to recommend that you use an 11 to 12 point Calibri font. It's very small. Do not use Times Roman unless you're an attorney. About the only people using that font anymore are legal. And even then, I think it looks terrible. Compare that to an Arial font. Both of these are 28 point, but look at how much larger the Arial is. I like Calibri. That's the font I'm using in this presentation, because it's real small and compact and easy to read. No borders, tables, logos, artwork, photos, or frames. No tables, especially on a resume. I have a friend of mine over here at NASA that was submitting her resume for something. She sent it over the other day. She had tables vertical. She had tables horizontal. I was like, oh my God, if somebody reads this paper document, you're okay. But if they put this into a scanning system, it's going to just explode. Do not lead with a summary. And that's one thing that was just mentioned in the interview, in the prior to me coming on. I will tell you, and I've gotten all this information. I've asked a lot of recruiters over the years, do you read summaries? No, they don't. The fact is your resume gets such a quick scan that nobody's going to read this. I know that most summaries go from about 50 words. I've seen some go up to 300 words. If you think somebody who is under the gun is reading all that stuff, you're fooling yourself. I'm going to show you what I do instead. The accomplishments-based resume breathes because there's a ton of space in this document, which you're going to see shortly. You're writing your resume for an audience of 2. And I always get a kind of a kick out of telling people this because there's only 2 people you're writing your resume for. Number 1 is that recruiter. And I'm going to tell you, after spending 10 years calling on HR departments from the very biggest corporations, particularly Houston and Dallas, all the way down to the mom and pop shops, the entry-level position for HR generally is the person who scans and reviews those first resumes. And of course, the software is doing it first now, so I don't even know how much they're doing it anymore. But your first target audience for your resume is that recruiter who may or may not spend any time on your resume and may or may not, well, candidly, is not near as vested in your resume and your future as you are. So there's your first audience. Your second audience is the hiring manager. That's the only 2 people you're writing this document for. And if you're putting a bunch of fluff in there and a bunch of bullets and all that other stuff that does not speak to those 2 people deliberately, specifically, you're wasting good time. So when a real human person reviews your resume, you want to convert that 3 to 5 second scan into a full read. That is the way things are done. And I'm going to talk to you real quickly about recruiters and the number of resumes they review daily. Remember, this recruiter is probably 23, 24, 25 years old, not too long out of college, is an entry-level position. And I tell you what, like I said, I called on HR departments all over the country, literally all over the country, but really Houston, Dallas. And in the front would be the recruiters who are reviewing resumes, and we go to the generalists, and we move all the way back to the chief HR officer. Those recruiters would have, let's just say they have 15 requisitions that they're recruiting for. And let's say they get 100 resumes in a day, which is not outrageous for those positions. That's 1,500 resumes a day they're looking at. Let's just say this person only gets 500 or 600 a day, has 5 or 6 requisitions, gets 175 to 120 resumes. Do you think that person is really reading your resume? Do you think they're really scanning and looking at all that blood, sweat, and tears you put on that document? It's not happening. It is not happening. That's why why I designed this document, to get that person's attention and the hiring manager's attention. So make it easy for them to like you. The accomplishments-based resume dramatically increases your odds. Here is what this document looks like. I'm going to close up on this shortly for you. I want you to notice, please do not place any copy in the header or the footer. If your resume is actually scanned and if it is actually saved, headers and footers are not scanned, at least per the last I knew, in the software. And I saw so many people, and I understand why, who would put their contact information, name and contact information in the header. That way it would transfer to the next page, the next page, the next page. It doesn't work like that in the software, the scanning. I have seen so many headless resumes. I've had people send me wonderful resumes that I looked at, and I'll go, why am I not getting any calls? And I'm like, oh my God, I'd call them back and say, get that information out of the header. They're going to start calling you. And invariably, that's all it took. Especially name and contact information, nothing above. I really don't care what you put in the bottom. It's usually a page number. That doesn't hurt anything. By the way, guys, no physical address on your resume. Nobody needs to know where you live. And yes, recruiters do use Google to find out how far away you live from the job. If you're all the way on the other side of town, they may not even bother to follow up with you. And you might be willing to relocate closer to the job or something. So no physical address on this document. Here's part 1 of the accomplishments-based resume. First of all, there is the header, your name, your email, your address, if you're willing, your phone number. If you're willing to relocate, say it. If you're not, don't put that there. If you're willing to travel, say it. These are little side things that fit really good in the header that somebody go, and and let me back that up a little bit. The header is designed more specifically for the recruiter than anybody else. This is that little stuff that he or she can just check off. By the way, I have non-smoker up there. This is an old document. You don't have to put that in there anymore. If you're currently residing or if you're relocating to El Paso, tell them you're relocating in June or whatever. Tell them stuff here that is easy just to check. Next thing underneath that, for the recruiter, I am seeking the position of program manager. I am seeking the position of position title, company name, and reference number. That is all that recruiter needs. That recruiter, that 23, 24-year-old person is not reading that wonderful summary you spent hours knocking out. They're not reading it, I promise you. So I call this my seeking statement. I'm seeking the position of job title, followed by company name, followed by reference number. If there's no reference number, don't worry. If there's a reference number, that is gold to that entry-level recruiter. Bingo. I know to send this over to Bob in marketing, period. It's that easy. Now, the objective statement, as a result of my skills, experience, and education, I am capable of, and you finish the sentence. This is written for that hiring manager. This is when you are looking at the job posting and you extract that one piece of information that says, this is what this person wants. This is why this person is hiring. This is why this person went to so much trouble to draw out this 12, 15, 1900 word job posting. As a result of my skills, experience, and education, I am capable of, finish the sentence. That is huge. That is where you're writing it to the hiring manager. Selected accomplishments. This comes from my accomplishments inventory. Notice there's 4, not 5, not 3. 3 is not enough. 5's too many. Extract your 4 best accomplishments from your accomplishments inventory. Place them right here. Get these people salivating. Managed $7 million cost reduction initiative, reducing the number of factory expedites, shipping upgrades and hours to track orders by 70%. That's a win. That's what the hiring manager wants to see. Not all this history about how long you were at a company and where you went and how the 3 positions you held. That's going to come up here in a little bit. Your employment summary. Notice I did not say employment history. I need to say this. I'm going to say it now. I know it's going to come up in another slide, maybe the next slide. Guys, there's no rules in resumes. There is no rules in resumes. I actually had a client and he wouldn't go along with this. This guy was 36 years old, PhD, had like 7 patents here in Houston in the energy business. This guy was a rock star. I really wanted to put his header, I wanted to put a big happy face in the middle, and I wanted to put his accomplishments below that and the keywords, which I'm going to come to in a second, and send that off. And I know this guy would have gotten a phone call. He didn't want to do that, but I really wanted to. There's no rules in resumes. However, I will tell you that resume writing services are a waste of money. I mean, all these shadows and boxes and stuff, they don't navigate the system. Don't spend any money on that. I don't know who certifies resume writers anyway. Anyway, notice this is employment summary. It is the name of the company, the position, the location, if anything, and the dates you worked. That's it. That's all you need right now. It's a summary. Underneath that is education, honors, and awards. There's plenty of space here for that. And by the way, this is an 11, I think this was an 11 point, it might be a 12 point Calibri font, very easy to read. Underneath that is keywords. Now, I'm going to tell you a real quick story about keywords. Many years ago, I got kind of nationally, certainly not famous. I got some national visibility because I was teaching people to copy and paste the entire job posting and paste it at the bottom of their resume, reduce it to a 1-point font, and then highlight it with their color palette and make it white. I was teaching people how to make the entire job posting sit inside their resume but disappear. And this is back in the days of only Word documents prior to online application systems. If you get a chuckle from that, that's good, because I was gaming the system. I have no problem. I never cheated. I gamed the system. It was a job we're applying for. And so because my resumes had the exact job posting, which is what the software was looking to compare to, my resumes, those people I worked with, went straight to the top. And then within about a year and a half, matter of fact, that was in my first book. That's the reason I wrote my first job search book, was to share that. I was all over the country with this stuff. And you do that today and you will be summarily, the software will blackball you. So don't do that. What I moved to when all this started changing is keywords. Remember, there's no rules in resumes. I created a keyword category. These are the terms you find in job postings that do not exist in your existing document. And since my document has so much air in it, you have lots of terminology you can share. This is where you put it. Notice there is a word, a space, a word, a space. You can capitalize, you don't have to capitalize, but there is no That's all it is. It's just a word and a space, no punctuation, whatever. This is only for the software. This is for the software to say this resume is a good one. It'll take you to the top of the pile. Once again, this assumes that where you're going is actually scanning resumes. They may not be doing it. So I'm going to talk about doing this in the online application in a second. But when somebody says, what's with all these keywords at the bottom of this document? Well, I just wanted to make sure my resume didn't get missed. So I just put these in here down. In other words, don't take credit don't give me credit for this idea. Say it like you did it. I just thought it was a good idea to put these keywords because, you know, that's how we search Google. We use keywords and you just want to make sure you didn't get missed. This is a very easy way. And by the way, you continuously add to this document. Well, I think it's on the next line here. Yeah. Keywords provide you with a considerable advantage. Your resume and online application is initially graded by software, period. Resume and online application. If you don't make the cut, a human person will never see your application. It's just that simple. Keywords are insurance that your resume will rise to the top of the pile. There are no rules, I already told you this, when it comes to resumes, none. You be as creative as you want. That's why people have sent resumes in wine bottles before. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can do, but nobody's really creative in resumes anymore. I don't see that stuff. Here's how to use keywords in your online application, because I'm a big fan of keywords and they do work. Let's say the field you're working in, and it's talking about employment one, is 1,200 characters. It allows you to write 1,200 characters in there, and you take up 600 characters. Skip a line or two and start filling in the rest of it with keywords. And when somebody challenges you with, why did you do this? You said, just tell them, I want to make sure I get noticed. So I put the appropriate keywords, because don't put a term in there you can't address. Every term you put as a keyword, you have to be able to talk about it. So don't put anything that just because you saw it in a job posting, you have to be able to address it. That's how you do this in your online application. Once again, guys, there's no rules. By the way, if anybody has an issue with this, which I've had a lot of pushback over the years, if you go apply online at Apple, if you have an iTunes account, you can apply on Apple. They have a keywords field in their application. It's the only one I've seen so far, but Apple, duh. So here's an overview on keywords. Where do they come from? Job postings. Every time you see a job posting and there's a term in there you can address, extract it, save it, put it in this place. Talking trade magazines, just conversations you're having with coworkers. Just about any professional term can appear here. By the way, if you want to put MBA and Master of Business Administration, that's fine. Otherwise, you don't need to do anything like that. And there's no reason for capitalization, no punctuation, like I said. This is a great way to stay current without having to rewrite your document every time. So I want you to know, where did I do this? Summary, hang on, page 1. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. There. This is, notice on page 1 of the resume I'm showing you, we have employment summary. Now on page 2, we have employment history, because on page 2 and page 3, I really don't care what you put on there. Go with all the things, anything you want to write. The way you've been writing your resumes is perfectly cool. Page 1 is the one that needs to grab somebody's attention, and my document does it really, really well. So page 2, page 3, do whatever you like. Go ahead and put all those bullets. Now, this is where you can copy and paste from your current resume and put all this stuff back there. So it's not like you can't share bullet points that are important, have all these dates and stuff that you can break things down. Okay, that's employment history. Yes. The other one was employment summary on page 1. Okay, now to recycle this resume is so easy to reuse. There's no reason to overdo it, to redo it. All you have to do, you do have to always change the seeking statement. You might want to modify the objective statement. You might change out some of your accomplishments. I will tell you, if after you use this 2 or 3 times, you're going to find that you're going to settle into a document that is perfect, that you'll rarely have to change much, except you always have to change the seeking statement. And it's a good chance you're going to enhance this with adding keywords. And guys, those are my 2 books. There's my email address. There's my website, LinkedIn, Rick Gillis Sugarland. And I wish you guys great, great success. And I am done and open for questions. I know that was a ton of information, so I'm going to stop sharing now.
Oh, you have such a slow Texas draw that it's sort of, you just sort of spread things out. I wish you were more motivated in what you were talking about. If you've got questions online, I know there was somebody was saying something. what are your thoughts about jobscan.co? Have you used that?
No, I haven't. No, I haven't.
Okay, well,
I'll tell you what, I will, I'll tell you what, I'll look at it. So is that looking at the job posting and telling you what you should use in your
Yeah.
resume?
put in a job posting, you put in your resume, and it tells you how much of a match you are.
Oh, I think that's terrible. I think that's terrible. I do. And I understand, you know what? I do remember JobScan now. I think that's terrible because you've got to go much more generic. You cannot create a new resume for every job posting. It's just not good use of your time. I prefer that accomplishments come in and blow the shorts off the people reading your resume and say, this is the person I want. He wants to make, she wants to make, or save me money. That's my whole focus, Jeff.
Okay. Questions, if you've got a question online, you're welcome to unmute your mic, and anybody here in the room, if you got questions, just grab the microphone and ask away. Questions?
Are there anything, are there any in the chat?
I really didn't see anything in the chat.
Okay, because I just opened it, I'll close it.
Yeah, no, I didn't see anything in there. Any questions, comments, suggestions? Will people try this? Will you try it out?
You know what? If you don't try it out, take the best of what you heard today that you think will work for you and just modify your document accordingly. The other side of this, I understand that you guys have put hours and you're continually thinking, depending on how long you've been seeking a new opportunity. I know you put an enormous amount of time into your resume, and I know you go to sleep with it. I understand the pressure. I have been there personally, that all this entails. And so that's why I came up with this, if you will, best practices kind of format, so that you don't have to worry about your resume all the time, but rather you're approaching the position. Yeah, Kathy Dixon, to everyone, tweak it to incorporate. I agree with that. Tweak it. Your resume should reflect you. It should not just be what I showed you. But like I said, if you go to rickgillis.com, click on job search and scroll the bottom, you'll see these documents in PDF and copy paste. I'm not asking for any credit. There's no cost. You want to buy a book? Woohoo. I'm not selling books today. I really want you to land your next position. I hope in the future when Jeff has me back, I don't see any of your beautiful faces there again, unless you want to be there and share.
Right. Well, and I think, you know, if you're going to take away one thing, and something we talk about in the resume class we do on Thursdays, is you've got to have a result. But just by using those two words, resulting in, making sure, you know, we talk about the so what game. You read a bullet point, you don't want to read like a job description. Tell us what the result was, because we need somebody who can show us what they've done, show us your accomplishments. I need somebody who can do the same thing. That's why I want to hire you. So I like the fact, just those two words, resulting in, because it gives you a simple format.
Those two words are gold, Jeff. They're gold. That forces you to complete the sentence. Right. Resulting in. Tell me what you were responsible for. Resulting in. Ta-da. How will you make me win or save me in? Yes. You know what? I've always told people that if you can walk in and tell somebody how you're going to make them money or save them money, you are singing their song. They are hearing you, they are listening. And anybody who goes in with that attitude, and that is my attitude, that's my model for everything I do, is express to me how you're going to make me money or save me money. Then we got to talk.
All right. Rebecca.
Thank you so much for speaking. I do completely agree with, you know, the resulting in, you know, the other one that I would comment or add to it would be like, I, you know, led a team of 5,000 people, or in 2 months, and also giving those other KPIs, which I think have been really priceless, you know, on my resume. You know, I led a team, but I led a team of 5,000, completely different, you know, I think for recruiters who are looking at it.
Tell me your name, please.
Rebecca Wolf.
Rebecca, that is great. I really appreciate that. Have you really led a team of 5,000?
Actually, I have. I've led a team of 12,000 people when it comes to their learning and development. And
you're my hero. Wow.
People I had to serve was 12,000. So again, that makes a little bit of a difference when I say that that was the team that I supported.
Rebecca, spell out those zeros. It's not 12.
No, I don't. Yeah, trust me, I got the zeros going down. So just also making sure, don't totally have that. Now it's interesting, and it's just, you know, how you were talking about the ordering. I've noticed though with Workday now, which is what most companies are working, it's both my friend and my foe. But I've started and I have actually a graph or a table on the top of my resume, but it's the keywords that they have in their job search, like they were asking for, because, you've already mentioned it. These are recent college grads who are most likely looking at our resume for all these different positions. But when I put in different phrases, like up at the top, and I changed the title, like here are my learning and development skills or my training skills, and I put that in there. But what I was going to say is I've kept the traditional form of, I worked at this company for this duration and here were my skills. Workday's actually been able to pick that up really clearly. And so when I've given it my resume, I don't know if all of the systems have, but if individuals are working with Workday or that's what's asking it, it actually now has a stronger AI to parse through that than the previous systems. And so that was just an observation I was going to
Always, I appreciate everything you just said very much. Always go to the lowest common denominator so you don't have to rework that. You know what I mean? Because I do it, but Workday is premier. They are at the top of the game. And just because they can do it does not mean so many others can or even will, maybe. And especially the smaller companies that are just using, an online system, or they're just literally, I imagine there's some companies still receiving resumes, make it user-friendly on their end. I want them to like you. That's what I want. I want them to like you.
Well, thank you again for speaking with us.
Great.
You bet. I love to. Jeff and I are buds, like you said, from way back. I used to have black hair when I started in this.
One of the questions I had, and I noticed on your resume format, I always preach you want 1-inch margins all the way, top, bottom, side. It looked like on your sample you didn't. I didn't know if that was just because what you're showing us online, you're trying to squeeze it in so we can see it on one page, or do you not go by the 1-inch margin?
No, the 1-inch margin is ideal. It's almost like a school assignment. It's really well done. It reads easy, but I am willing to allow people to go to a 1/2-inch margin on left and right, actually left, right, top and bottom, all the way around. Keep that field. Don't go off the page, but anything over a 1/2 inch, and there's a good chance it's going to be cut. But once again, now that a lot of these resumes are just being literally, an image is being created, it almost doesn't matter, which I hate. I just hate. When I learned about that, I went crazy. I just went crazy when and I understand that though. I do understand the why, but not all resumes, just like all people, we're not all cookie cutter. So I try to, the main thing I'm about though, as you know, is that I'm all about express how you're going to make me money or save me money. That should be top, and that should be top of mind when you answer any interview question. Here's how I'm going to add value, savings or efficiency. That's the opposite, because most people, unless they're selling, don't create revenue for the company. Most people are there because they can do the job more efficiently and they can create savings as a result of that efficiency. So if you don't create revenue, that has to be your top of mind outlook, and especially at the interview.
It's sort of interesting. We're talking about creating revenue. My daughter's company just went through a round of layoffs this week. 15% of the company was laid off.
Mhm.
And the parts of the company that they kept were the parts that were generating revenue. They actually got rid of a couple areas. They've gone, this just isn't making us revenue anymore. This isn't, they tried to do something new. It didn't work. That whole group was just gone. They kept a few people out of that group, but for the most part, that whole group was just let go because it wasn't generating revenue.
Yeah. Well, my mom, Jesus, boy, mom's been gone a long time. My wife is with one of the big energy companies here in Houston, and they just did a round of layoffs. And yeah, it's tough. It's tough, and they're a really big company. Percentage wise, they didn't lay off that many, but those 450, 550 people don't feel that way. Right.
Any other questions? Question? Yeah, here, grab the mic.
Jeff, while we're grabbing a microphone, I'm going to tell your audience, I'm going to tell your people, you guys need to really slap Jeff on the back. I can't believe he's still doing this. It's crazy how much effort he puts into this thing every week, every day. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I've hosted job search support. This is a big deal. And Jeff, when you're talking years, I don't think I ever even made months. I'm not sure I made a lot of weeks when I tried doing this thing here in Houston. So
Radio show for a year and a half, 2 years, right? You made it.
Yeah, I did a radio show. I did actually 2 radio shows. One was 6 months. That was a trial. I actually funded that myself and it worked. And then ESPN locally put me on the weekends with a job search show, and they gave me an hour, and I did that for about 18, 20 months. Plus I did a TV show here in Houston. Houston Community College called me up, and I ended up doing 33 half-hour episodes for a job search TV show where I called all the recruiters I knew and all the staffing people I knew, and people had different ideas. And so I didn't plan on doing TV. I didn't want to do TV for the purpose of being on TV. I just wanted to learn how to get comfortable in front of a camera. I thought we'd do 3 or 4 shows, they'd go home. But we did 33. Matter of fact, I got a stack of CDs somewhere around here, and I'll never look at them again. I can't watch myself, period. So.
All right, we got a question here in the room. Is it on?
Mic's not on.
Push the button up. Push up. There you go.
Yeah, thank you for doing this for us today. I'm Lily Kadur.
Hi, Lizzie.
I share your views about JobScan, but I didn't understand your suggestion for having like an entire paragraph of keywords. I mean, are you saying place that at the bottom of the resume?
Yes. Here's the thing, Lizzie, a lot of people in their resume, in describing what it is they do or responding, they go to a lot of trouble, and you don't have the time to do this. You don't have the luxury of all the time of creating a resume that actually incorporates all the terminologies you see in the resume, in the posting. And that's what I'm trying to save you. It's not a matter of saying it in a sentence, because like I said, a lot of people aren't going to review all this stuff. They're really not looking at it. And like I said, you have to be thinking, if somebody has 10, 12 requisitions and they get 100 resumes per day, which is not uncommon, but especially, and everybody's been mentioning these big companies. I haven't heard anybody say they want to work at Joe's hardware shop, and the big companies use software, and you're going to go through the scan. So if I have 500 resumes a day, even just imagine reading 500 documents a day and saying, why should this one go through and this one not? I mean, my way of thinking, I'd probably just send them all through. Not good. I'd be fired in 3 days. But so the keywords are there to get your resume to come to the top of the pile. And then when they start seeing those accomplishments, they're going to go, oh, wow. Now the accomplishments do address what's in the document, in the body of the posting. Must have achieved XX, must be approved to do XX. That's what that's about.
Yeah, so they may never get to the end of the resume to look askance at your list of keywords.
The only times I'm sorry.
Because you've already captured their interest in the first page. So
you hope that's the goal. I don't put the keywords there for them to read. I put them there, if anything, for them to ask you, why did you do this? And you say, well, I wanted to make sure that your systems caught me. So I put this, safety net down there, included all these keywords that were in the job posting, plus other job postings I've seen that relate to my position. So it's purely a safety net. My keywords at the bottom of the page are purely a safety net. And listen, you can reduce, I didn't say this, you can reduce those to about an 8-point. You can make them small. Don't make them 4-point, because then it looks like you're trying to cheat and get, sneaky. But an 8-point, if your document is 11 or 12-point and you have 8-point words at the bottom, that's completely acceptable. And if they call you and say, what's with all these keywords? Woohoo, you got the call. I don't care why they call you. I just want them to call you.
Right. So in a sense, you're sort of, you're adding another page to the resume, I think is what you're saying by this first page that you have, those 4 accomplishments that you list, those accomplishments will be on page 2 and 3 in whatever company you did it at.
Yes, Jeff, exactly right. You will see those repeated on the next page, but they'll be in the timeline now, in the chronology. So it's okay. But yes, that's exactly right. This is like an exotic cover sheet, but it meets all the criteria. My page 1.
And I mention all the time, your resume and your LinkedIn profile aren't going to get you a job. It only gets you a phone call. That's the key. It's getting that phone call
All you want. And like I said, that's why I've reduced this now to it's only two people, the recruiter and the hiring manager. Nobody else at that company gives a darn about you, period, until you go in and start showing that you're going to knock it out of the park. Then you can let everybody show some love. But up till then, you got to go in just like everybody else.
And those keywords that are on this page, this cover page or whatever we want to call that, those keywords should also be on your LinkedIn profile in your About section at the very bottom of your About section. Because
Yes.
opportunity for the system to find you, because LinkedIn operates like an ATS system.
That's it. That's right. That's right. And see, LinkedIn, I mean, I've been on LinkedIn since it was invented. I remember LinkedIn was not an employment site to begin with. It was a site that was designed to help salespeople get through to meet the buyer at X company. So if I was selling widgets and I wanted to get into ABC company, LinkedIn, that's what they started at. But we had two recessions back to back during the time LinkedIn was coming up. And all these people started going, wait a minute, this accountant is looking for somebody to help him. And they're sending all these resumes to that accountant asking him if they'll send him over to the HR manager. That's how LinkedIn morphed into a job board. Once again, I had black hair.
So if I look on LinkedIn, I'll find your black hair on there.
No, I update my photo. Matter of fact, even my website, my photo is 3 years old, and this face is aging aggressively now. I need to update that.
Any other questions? Anybody have any questions online? Or here? Any other questions here? No. Well, Rick, thank you very much for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
You bet, Jeff.
And like I said, I did put the link for Rick's website in the chat. I'll make sure I put it in the email that goes out to everybody this afternoon. So Rick, once again, thank you very, very much for your time.
And people, you are able to reach out to me if they want to.
Okay, we'll put that contact information in there.
Okay, then. You guys, I'll see y'all. Bye-bye.
All right, next week, our speaker is going to be Rick Martinez. He's going to talk all about the 21 tips for an effective job search in today's ever-changing market. So join us next Friday for that. If you have not put your 30-second introductions into the chat window, please do so. If you haven't filled out a little slip of paper so I know you're here, please do so I can make sure I update the roster and get the email out to everybody this afternoon. I only send the roster out to everybody who tells me they're here today. I don't send it out to everybody in the group, only those who attend. Also on the roster, for those of you who are new, the third page of the roster is alumni. And these are alumni who go back to 2008, 2007, maybe even before that. So if you're looking for somebody who worked at a company, is working at a company, did work at a company, here's a great way you can go back and find alumni who have been part of this group and can help you out. And if they don't help you out, please let me know and I'll take care of them. All right, Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us. Next Tuesday, Ruth Lipsky will be with us to talk about how to drive recruiters to your LinkedIn profile. We talk about LinkedIn every Tuesday, 1 o'clock Central. Next Wednesday, it is the third Wednesday, but we're going to be online only on the next Wednesday for the practice interview team. We have an actual practice interview scheduled. So please join us and you'll be able to watch it. It will be on Zoom only and it will not be recorded. So if you want to watch an actual practice, watch somebody else being interviewed, please join us next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central. Next Thursday, being the third Thursday of the month, we're going to talk all about effective resumes. Locke Alderson will be with us to talk about what recruiters look for in resumes. This session has been recorded. It will not be on the Career DFW Facebook page since Facebook and Zoom were not cooperating today, but it will be on the Career USA YouTube channel. On the Career USA YouTube channel, click on playlist. I have over 500 videos posted there now, but if you click on playlist, every video that I upload goes into one of 7 different playlists. Pick the one you want and then click on view full playlist, and then up will come a list of all the different dates and topics and titles, and you can pick the one you want to go back and watch. Just remember, if you pick the ones out of the North Dallas group, you probably need to go 20, 25, 30 minutes in to when the speaker actually starts on the video. Please come join us today. Jason's Deli, 4801 West Parker, the northeast corner of Parker and Preston. Join us there at 11:45. You got to have lunch. They've got everything. They've got great soups, salads, great, nice big salad bar, everything you'd want for lunch. So please come join us there. Everybody have a great weekend. Thank you for joining us today, everybody, and we will see you all next week.